I've had the opportunity to, first of all, participate in the Dept litigation. I was one of the attorneys, in fact, I was the attorney that drafted the complaint for that matter. I will not make any statements with respect to any specifics as to litigation, except to respond to Sherry Hart, who spoke hours ago, who I believe was a part of a group, a local group in the Dept area, who saw to it, helped to see to it, that see to the end of what the very secretary of the Department of Environmental Protection in this state wished for the people of Dept, and that was a fresh water pipeline, okay, which was pulled from those people because they had problems. The pipeline was pulled in December, on December 15, 2010, based on supposed local community support for withdrawal of the pipeline. Now, if there was one point that I wanted to make to this group, it would be the following. All right, bring this somewhere and see that it happens through some magical mechanism, and that is the following. What happens with, you've heard repeatedly, industry spokespersons saying there's not been an incident of contamination from fracking. First of all, let's refer to it as natural gas operations, because in every sequence there are contaminants potentially being introduced into the earth. What needs to happen, and we had a gentleman here that said, we do our job, we must test water within 1,000 feet of a well operation, okay? What has to happen is that there has to be transparency with respect to what the heck is being put into the ground, so before anybody deems it appropriate to drill, anyone within, I'm not going to say 1,000 feet, a half a mile, okay? Their water is tested for potentially what's going in and what's coming out. Until you see that that's done, I make it clear, until you see that water is tested before to show that there are none of the contaminants that industry is using, and then after drilling to see what is coming up, then you will see the true picture of what's coming out of the earth and what people are truly suffering from.
Eastern Ohio by growing and selling Christmas trees. I'm greatly concerned over the lack of regulation and safety in hydraulic fracturing. The gas industry, which is exempt from the Safe Drinking Water Act simply because they have a lot of influence on Capitol Hill, also has the ability to overwhelm local opposition by the sheer weight of its money, what its money can buy. Besides being exempt from laws that would normally apply, it also has the power to coerce landowners who are opposed to the hazards presented by fracking to have their land bundled with other properties so that despite private ownership of the land, the drilling companies can still proceed with its dangerous process. For a group like ours that has spent a lifetime to protect an area of unusual geological character, this prospect is devastating. One of the main selling points for fracking is that the United States has all this cheap natural gas. But if it is cheap because the industry is exempt from environmental laws, we are no better off than many third world countries where big corporations reap huge profits and leave devastation in their wake. If we are going to extract this natural gas, I urge you not to give carte blanche to the industry, which has so far bought what it wants in terms of regulation. Please take the steps necessary to protect the environment for ourselves and our children. We will be cursed or thanked by future generations for the choices we make about this today. If the industry were willing to take these steps, I think it would go a long way toward reassuring people in my position about what its true intentions are, because I do think that we do need energy sources, environmental ones that are better, but we need bridges to get to those other sources, and I wish you help us do that.
The next four are John Wisnowski, Ted Popovich, I believe it's Jean Kier, and Rudy Stolfer.
My name is Jim Rosenberg, and John Jesnowski deal with this tenant to me. I don't know if he's here. What is the price of hedging the risk of unconventional gas drilling? Evidence of risk is easy to come by. Fracking requires so much pressure, 15,000 pounds per square inch. The pressure 6 miles under the ocean. 30 times the pressure of thermobaric air bombs used in Afghanistan, that it is accurately described as weapons-grade pressure generated at the surface. A Marcellus shale well is a weapons-grade pressure delivery system. What is the Pennsylvania record of weapons-grade pressure containment failure? June 2010, Clearfield, blowout. January 2011, Tioga County, blowout. April 2011, Leroy, blowout. A blowout preventer in Ohio required 67 hours just to pass its test. The weapons-grade pressure containment equipment does not work. The homeowner is caught in an economic black hole. Drilling companies disown the risk and have no presumed liability outside 1,000 feet. Banks are declining to write mortgages on properties that are leased for gas drilling. The bankers understand the risk. Their price of hedging the risk of drilling is, I don't think so. The homeowner cannot buy insurance to hedge against this risk from anyone. When insurance companies refuse to write coverage, this is a predictive failure warning by the free market of the free market. The consequence for many homeowners is weapons-grade destruction of their property value.
I guess I'm next. I'm Ted Popovich. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, Beaver Falls, Joe Namath's hometown. He made it, and I'm still trying. Have an engineering degree. I worked for a Fortune 500 company, and I've worked around the world, and I've been in some nasty places. And I don't want this place to be a nasty place. Let me share some information and insights with you. On March 20th, the DOE gave approval for Cheniere Energy Incorporated, and we heard some of this already, to export natural gas from the Sabine Pass, Louisiana port. Pending requests include 2 more in Texas and Louisiana, another San Diego-based, 1 in Louisiana and Mexico, and 1 from Maryland. Who knows how many more? Others there are. So much for the idea of domestic use of natural gas. So in fact, natural gas is a worldwide commodity and will go to the highest bidder. Guess who is willing to pay up to 3 times the current U.S. price of natural gas? China, India, and even our friends in Canada. In fact, an international gas pipeline between New York State and Ontario has already been reversed. And Pennsylvania natural gas is flowing into Canada. How about that? Okay. For us to believe that the big international oil and gas companies will not be trying to maximize profits is absurd. That's what it's all about. I worked for one time. That's what we did. Maximize profits. Okay. Increasingly, the industry is consolidating in Pennsylvania. Exxon, Mobil, Shell, Chevron have bought for local producers. And the most recent, the quote I like the best, is T. Boone Pickens. He was quoted recently saying, if we export, we are the dumbest generation ever.
Next 4 are Josie Delaney Hash.
Excuse me. Were you called earlier? Did we miss you, sir?
Excuse me.
You've been called. Your name was called, sir. Please.
My name is Rudy Stolford. I'm a local. Got home a few years ago and noticed that there was like 3 or 4 gas wells that went up around my neighborhood. Well, either side of my hill, down the road. I'm the lone holdout in my family that hasn't signed the lease yet. I have a problem with people coming into my neighborhood and injecting bioaccumulative mutagenic drugs into my water supply. The industry made a lot of claims if they would do things right. Problem is, according to a local paper, they've had over 1,500 violations already. I couldn't do that and get away with it. Their trucking company, for 8 years, dumped their fracking fluid in our streams and rivers and wherever. Over in Avella, they just had a big blow-up. Don't sound safe to me. They're talking about jobs. All I see are tri-axle frac trucks running in front of my house daily. And when they run the weigh station to check for safety over on Interstate 79, all the trucks are running on 19. Solar energy and wind power aren't going to go away in 15 years. The fracking is. And this is the 21st century. The most valuable commodity we're going to have is uncontaminated fresh water. And once it's fracked, it's gone. But I'm just a farmer, so.
Okay, the next four commenters are Josie Zelink Cash, John Schlesinger, Sandra Fallon, and Evan Hansen.
I drove here from a suburb in Cleveland, Ohio, because it's very important to me to be here today. I was going to say stuff, but I don't know if it's even doing good. I don't know if you guys are going to listen, because it seems that you guys are paid off or whatever, and this is very unequal. When I came here today, we were locked outside, and only certain people were allowed in here, and even though I came really early, almost an hour early. Anyways, the reason I'm here is because my husband and I are getting sick. And about 3 years ago, my husband said a house blew up near us, very close to us, about 5 miles away in Bainbridge, Ohio, on English Drive, and it was caused by fracking. The methane leaked into the well and blew up. Well, they contaminated the whole aquifer for 5 or 6 miles. Actually, Bainbridge Police Department is right on that, and they can't even use their water at the police department. I started losing my hair like too much. I never lost hair before. About a year ago, and it's still coming out, not as much, but I started getting headaches now in the past couple weeks. A week ago, my nose started bleeding. I never used to get headaches. I have rheumatoid arthritis now. I was just a very healthy person. They don't know for sure if it's rheumatoid arthritis or hypothyroidism. My husband doubles over every time he gets a migraine. He's got to lay down. He throws up. That's why I'm here today, because in Ohio they even have less regulation than you guys do. And they basically, if somebody doesn't want to lease their property over to the hydraulic fracking companies, they don't have a choice over there in Ohio. They could just go ahead and do it. And I just think that you really need to think about people. This is our water. What are you going to do when you get rid of it all? When you waste it and deplete it? You're poisoning us, and this is actually domestic terrorism.
My name is John Schlesinger. I'm from Cambridge County, Pennsylvania. My friend over there tells me that my comments are very kind, so I will be very kind to you and say that you are on the committee, and I hope that you will do the job that you were put on the committee for, and that is to investigate. My thoughts when I went to put this together is how can I condense the last 18 months into a 2-minute speech? But I do have something important to say. We're all aware of previous gas well drilling incidents and have listened to scientists warning of short-term and long-term damage. I fear that there are many people like myself whose stories will not be heard. You'll never hear them, because to others it is a small story. But to those affected like myself, it's not a small story. These people came into my area without regard for my family or our property. They poisoned my water and continue to poison my water while developing their well, plugging it and abandoning it. They left me with no one to help me except the DEP. Oh, the DEP took many water samples and they found the same contaminants that other samples showed. But they will not investigate to identify the source. Even with documented proof in drilling logs and pictures, they still will not identify the source. Meanwhile, the driller who could have fixed his mistake 18 months ago was able to continue poisoning my water. I pray that the Department of Energy makes it their mission to deal with the drillers and the people who should be policing them so severely that everyone ensures things are done right, no matter what the cost. That's the only way to protect the present and future citizens of the United States.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Sandra Fallon. I'm here from Morgantown, West Virginia, which is about 45 miles south of Washington, PA. I'm actually an employee of West Virginia University. I work for the National Environmental Services Center. We are an information clearinghouse on water, drinking water and wastewater issues of concern to small communities and rural areas around the country. I do training and education programs and public outreach on this issue. I've been doing this for the last 12 years. However, I am not speaking on behalf of my employer tonight. I am here as a private citizen. I'm with a group in Morgantown called Morgantown Area Concerned Citizens. We are a rapidly expanding group of right now several hundred people, up to 500 people. We band together soon after May 5th when our local newspaper, the Dominion Post, announced that 2 Marcellus gas wells had been permitted in close proximity to our local drinking water treatment plant, which is located on the Monongahela River in Morgantown. As well, up to 4 more additional wells may be permitted there. These wells are 3,000 feet from the drinking water treatment plant as the crow flies, up on a hill above on the opposite side of the river. However, if a spill or incident were to occur, water or contaminants that entered the river will be entering the river 1,500 feet upstream of our drinking water intake. Now, several days after hearing about this permitting, our Morgantown Utility Board, that's the water board, sent a letter on May 10th to the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection saying that they were deeply concerned about this. This is a matter of utmost urgency. They were not told in advance of the details of this permitting. In their words, these wells are putting the drinking water of 90,000 people at risk in the Morgantown area. And make no mistake about this, West Virginia state laws are protecting the well driller's right to place a well at that location. Now, negotiations have been undertaken and completed between you get the drift. Thank you.
My name is Evan Hansen, and I'm the president of an environmental consulting company called Downstream Strategies, also in Morgantown, West Virginia. Over the last couple of years, we've been getting more and more calls water monitoring due to concerns over the increased level of permitting and Marcellus drilling in West Virginia and Pennsylvania. And we've done baseline water quality monitoring for people who wanted to establish how clean the water is before drilling occurs, as well as monitoring on behalf of people and their attorneys who are concerned that pollution may have already occurred. We've monitored groundwater, we've monitored surface water, and we've monitored soil. And you've heard today assertions that there's no confirmed cases of pollution, and that's simply false. And I can tell you, simply based on the data that my company has collected, that we have documented groundwater pollution, we've documented surface water pollution, and we've documented pollution in soil.
Thank you. Thank you.
I can't tell you that every Marcellus well will cause pollution, but I can tell you that there is something going on here, and in at least some cases, something's happening that is causing pollution. Groundwater, surface water, and soil. Thank you.
Mark Glass, Bruce Levitt, Bridget Obersteiner, and Tracy Cassidy.
Good evening. My name is Mark Glass. I'm also an environmental consultant from a different company from Morgantown, West Virginia. I'm an owner, managing partner, and chief environmental scientist. I mostly deal with groundwater issues. And I've been in multiple Marcellus well pads at various stages of development, including active drill sites. Just the other day, I had the good fortune of being on the largest rig that's in the field in Pennsylvania right now. It's impressive technologically, and I enjoyed the experience. But one of the things that I started doing when I started getting out on these well pads was understanding the difference in scale from the conventional industry, and I started doing a lot of research. And most of the things and what I expect that this panel is going to do over the next 60 days or so is that you're going to make a lot of recommendations and things that are going to deal with how we better manage surface spills and the way we handle waste and stuff like that. And I think that that is readily available from existing industries. Even the existing petroleum industry does a good job of waste manifesting and dealing with the waste. So I think that's a very doable goal. And I hope you set your sights a little bit higher and look and do a better job of helping us, the people that are the scientists that work with this, the regulatory community, and even some of the scientists here who can use the negative argument to say that there's no contamination, but we all know that that's not okay. You need to have actual science similar to what the DOE has done for the carbon sequestration projects, pilot projects that are studied, that have monitoring mechanisms that are set in place to look for this stuff and discover the fate and transport mechanisms. If you can present that to us, I think that could get rid of a lot of the risk. If you can't, I don't think we should be doing this. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Bruce Levitt. I'm a consulting hydrogeologist here in Washington, Pennsylvania. I'm also a member of the Township Planning Commission. I'm a Christmas tree farmer. I would like to have my comments entered into the record, please. Thank you. To make this as brief as possible, I'm concerned about the number of abandoned oil and gas wells that exist in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that may be affected by fracking operations. The state recognizes or has documented 8,522 abandoned or orphaned wells, but the estimate for the number of abandoned or orphaned wells is 180,000. When you're conducting a fracking operation, some of these wells may only go down half the distance to the Marcellus, but some of them may go through the Marcellus to lower formations. If these wells are not located and they are within the frack radius, then there's a potential for that frack water to migrate to the well and then back up to the surface. I think that the coal industry has adopted
procedures for plugging abandoned wells so that they can mine through. It seems to me that a practical alternative is for the oil and gas industry to research the area in which they're drilling and plug the wells, the abandoned wells, prior to their fracking operation. Thank you very much.
So far costing more than $100 to be here. I appreciate your time. First I want to say I am not a reactionist. I'm not an alarmist. I'm actually not really even an environmentalist. Don't hurt me. But this situation has compelled me to speak out. I seriously can't comprehend the irresponsible way that the negative health and environmental impacts of fracking are being handled and denied in general. Real people are sick, and that's not a logical notion. That's just a sad truth. And I've been to several public meetings in the last few months, and we always hear from geologists, which is important. But also, I urge you to learn from microbiologists because they'll talk more about the impact on health and the environment. I want to just say that there are many people in PA and in Pennsylvania that are feeling actually abandoned, and that's a strong word. I don't normally use that kind of language. But the common sense and doing the right thing for the long-term health and safety of our families has taken a backseat to the big money. And I worked for a Western Republican governor for a number of years, did press conferences with President Bush's cabinet, so I get the political game. I've also worked for Democrats. I get it. But the level of influence that the industry is having for this discussion and the disregard for families is deeply concerning. You don't normally speak out. This situation is very concerning. Just as an example, the coalition here in PA has stated a goal of being legally allowed to drill in every part of every municipality. It's industrial. What other industry is being so aggressive with that? You can't even put a barber shop in certain areas. As a small example, not a junkyard around, but in our township, junkyards aren't allowed to store hazardous waste. But you can have a frack pump. I mean, there's something wrong with how this is. I don't have any money. I'm not the former Homeland Security Director lobbying for this. I'm not in any of your shoes, but our voices need to count, and this is long-term that we're going to be dealing with. And I would just lastly say for all the people who claim that I'm unpatriotic for my beliefs, I would say that it's not unpatriotic to oppose drilling, but it's unpatriotic to force families to live with it in this way. So thank you very much.
There's not enough information about the risks of the air and water quality or the livestock and agricultural implications. It is not covered under the Clean Water Act. In addition, our local officials who are currently constructing zoning ordinances do not have sufficient information to properly draft an ordinance that will protect the health and safety of its residents. We are being told by our township officials that we cannot request that drilling be done X amount of distance from a church or school because it is too exclusionary. If we can't protect our children, what are we doing? Likewise, I would like to know how the EPA is possibly going to be able to regulate the mass drilling that is likely to occur. Who's going to protect the citizens of our community? I do not feel as though there is proper research being done to ensure our safety. Also, drilling companies are getting $500 fines for violations. I hope that PA isn't going to be collateral damage from the industry. Thank you.
Okay, the next commenters are Andy Polak, Randy Pokolazis, John Davenport, Ron Slade, and Sandra McDay.
Hi, Andy Polak. I have about 40 years retired from the air and water pollution business, and I've never seen anything like this before in my life. My wife and I live about 3 miles from the Baker Run Reservoir. That's the main water drinking source we have for northern Westmoreland County. A new well pad went in just a couple days ago. I was driving north on Route 66. There's about 25 operational wells around the Baker Run Reservoir, and it's just completely alarming. Our food chain is going to be involved with this. I wrote something, we need a ban on fracking in the Marcellus region 5 to 9,000 feet due to the radiation and heavy metals found there. This would also include shallow wells due to the methane found at these depths. Of all our energy choices, gas is the most polluting to our environment when everything is considered as more polluting than coal. Our air quality will decline, creating small radiation levels in our groundwater will increase, releasing carcinogens into our food chain. We are very concerned about our children and our grandchildren's future based on studies conducted by Duke University, Cornell University, and so on. Wastewater treatment plants are unable to treat frac fluids. They are unable to remove radiation from the fracking fluids. The well injection of fracking fluids will not work in western Pennsylvania due to our unique geology. I have more of this, but it's just completely, this thing is completely alarming. Someone has to do something. This is criminal to do this to our water and our food chain.
I have my PhD in environmental studies. I drove in here almost 3 hours from Ohio, and it's going to be a very late night getting home tonight. My husband is a professional engineer and holds a PE from the state of Ohio and the state of Pennsylvania. We are right now experiencing fracking hitting our county. You can go to the county courthouse, and it looks like the mad rush to get as many people as possible to sign releases. One of the things that disturbs me more than anything is the lack of transparency in this industry and the fact that they don't have to abide by any environmental laws, including the Safe Drinking Water Act. When I looked at some of the chemicals, and I can't go through all of them today because it would take forever, but as a teacher and an instructor, when I looked at these, I was shocked. You don't know a lot about these chemicals. Formaldehyde is used in embalming fluid. Acrylamide is used in car paints. Ethylene oxide is an explosive. Naphthalene is basically mothballs. Styrene is used in siding for homes, and xylene is used in paint strippers. These are just some of the compounds that we're going to inject in the groundwater, and these compounds will also be found in fracking fluid once it's withdrawn from the well. I have 2 beautiful granddaughters that live in an area that's going to be fracked. There is no way I want my granddaughters drinking this water or being exposed to the polyaromatic hydrocarbons that are going to be given off by these wells. And I would say to the people that are on the committee today, when you go home tonight and you tuck in your children or your grandchildren, I want you to look at those babies, and I want you to think about the people in this room that have testified on what's happening with their families. And if you can go to bed and about what's going on, then you're a bigger person than I am, because I sure as hell can't.
And I'm going to talk to you today about, first of all, the first scientific study to link drinking water contamination to fracking. The recent Duke University study showed that fracturing the Marcellus shale for natural gas is contaminating private drinking water wells. The Duke study concluded that methane traveled from the Marcellus into the groundwater from either new fractures or enlarged existing fractures above the Marcellus created by the hydraulic fracturing process. Another factor to be considered in this methane migration problem is the failure of the fracking process to keep the frac strictly in the Marcellus shale area. With this layer on the average of 100 feet thick, Professor Anthony Angraffia from Cornell University finds the fracs created to be 5 to 6 times greater than the shale. Frac height growth is detected to be some 1,000 to 1,800 feet above the height of the shale's thickness. Where the fracs are created is where the frac water goes and where also the methane gas migrates. It is also a myth, says Professor Angraffia, that in its current form, hydraulic fracturing has been done safely for some 60 years. He states that using directional drilling and injecting high volumes of fracking fluids combined with slick water to reduce friction created from intense pressure is a form of hydraulic fracturing that is relatively new and still undergoing experimentation and failure. Thus far, the process of hydraulic fracturing has been a disaster for far too many. And this procedure and panel is in great question, stacked as it is with industry interest. But please, do me a favor and prove me wrong.
Okay, we've got 2 more commenters on the list. Next group of 5 is Aaron Booz, Sarah Scholl, Tom Clancy, Jim Rosenberg, and Emil Pavlov.
Yeah. Thank you for this opportunity to provide public comment. Though I've written to the President asking him to close the Halliburton loopholes that give this industry legal grounds to pollute air and water, loopholes that, by the way, prove this industry's processes are unsafe for the environment, though I'm drinking tap water that's been contaminated with bromides and has necessitated a switch from chlorine to chloramine as a disinfectant, that's my daily drink, though I've tried to fight to stop the building of gas drilling operations near or on school properties in my school district to protect kids, and though my heart is breaking about drilling operations located in our state forest lands and parks, I'm not here today to address any of those concerns. I'm here to speak for the defenseless, they being wildlife and future generations of people who have no say and no voice in the decisions being made here today. How will they live without clean air and clean water destroyed by fracking and all that comes with it? Clean air and clean water must be readily and naturally available for all life to go on. So with all due respect, the Department of Energy has one of 2 choices to make here, and there's no middle ground. The first is to look out for and to protect our air and our waters to sustain life, or the second is to look out for and protect gas drilling corporations. So it's air and water for all on this side, and gas drilling corporations on this side. And I ask you to please take that home and let that settle in your conscience and your hearts tonight as you're thinking about what you heard here at this meeting, with these hearts breaking because no one is listening to them. Right.
Okay, we got a third of the 5 called. Number 2 isn't here, I guess I'll speak. Hello, I'm Tom Clancy, common and concerned citizen here in Washington County. Come on, everyone. Not since coal and steel have PA and the Burg had such a great and golden chance for economic prosperity. Don't we all want that? Let's have do environmental and other concerns, but not lose sight of this that I speak of, this picture that I speak of. For the free world in our country, but if not for that, if you don't have that, not for those ideas, I'm having a little difficulty reading my own sloppy writing here. But if not for out of those higher ideals, then for yourself, you know, you could conceivably become rich via Marcellus natural gas. Let's see. Let's give Marcellus, you know, with all the environmental and other concerns in mind, let's do it right. Let's do it right. But the key thing is let's do it. We've got to have this economic prosperity for the area, for the country. You know, I sympathize with the many horror stories I've heard here, to the extent they're true. But we still got to have it. We still got to have the gas and everything. We got to have this development, energy independence, etc. So that's mostly what I've had to say. And thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the last 5 names are John Barnes, James Cochran, Tara Howie, Peggy Kings, and Joseph Copeland.
Hello, my name is John Barnes, and I hold a Bachelor of Science degree in Agriculture from West Virginia University, and I've performed work for the Army Corps of Engineers, Pittsburgh Survey and Mapping Division, mapping the rivers from Pittsburgh to Tiger Lake, and I can tell you that looking at those riverbanks is some of the pretty horrendous sites there with some tank well fields, tank fields there. And I also worked for Pennzoil through Corps Environmental, taking leaking underground storage tank samples. So I've seen some pretty hideous things there with benzene, toluene, ethylbenzene, and xylene pollution. I've worked in a biochemistry laboratory at Robert C. Byrd Health Sciences Center, researching Lou Gehrig's disease. And I want to tell you that I became interested in this issue in about 2005. I watched my hometown of Mason, Pennsylvania go from a pastoral Pennsylvania farmland to a 360-degree industrial wasteland with tank fields all around. Excuse me. You know, it really hit home when Atlas Drilling drilled a well in 2008, 215 feet from my niece's drinking well, and she ended up breathing and drinking this stuff and fell into a coma for 3 weeks. Her liver was impaired. They were looking for a liver donor for her. Her lungs filled with liquid. They had to drain her lungs. Her daughter's 12 years old, and she just succumbed to rheumatoid arthritis-like symptoms. She is now falling down when she walks. So I can go on and on about the Public Utility Commission wanting to put pipes through this land. Yeah. And there's more. I mean, and like fish kills, people's hair falling out. I've been reading up on this stuff. All real. Okay? Thank you.
last 2 years, my children and I have had arsenic poisoning, benzene, toluene poisoning. We have lost our animals to ethylene glycol poisoning and arsenic poisoning also. It is very difficult for me to speak. I do not have a prepared speech. My son has missed 1.5 years of school. He's had liver problems. He's had kidney problems. He is 15 years old. He is 6 foot tall. He's laid on my lap for hours in hospitals to where he could not even pick up his head. I'm a leaseholder. I did not ask for this. I was shown a beautiful picture of a field with a small well cap and told that this is what we would be seeing. It is not what we are seeing. We live underneath of an 8-acre chemical impoundment that has 12 aerators the size of car engines that blow the chemicals into the air. As of a month ago, we had to leave our home. I had to leave our animals at our home because I have no place to take them. I'm living out of my car. My daughter lives with my mother and my son lives with a friend 10 miles away from where we live because he cannot even ride down the road in the car past the chemical impoundment that is right up on my home. Oh. Our lives have been ruined because of this, and there's no job or no amount of money that any revenue can generate that can replace the last 2 years of my children's lives.
Good evening. My name is James Coates. I am an environmentalist. I currently serve as chair of the Energy Committee for the West Virginia chapter of Sierra Club, and I want to commend this committee for holding this hearing in Pennsylvania, where they at least have some rules, because if you want to see where it gets bad, come down to West Virginia. Yeah. We have 59,000 wells in West Virginia. There are 17 inspectors.
That's enough. Yeah, that's enough. What more do we need?
Several of those positions are vacant. We do not have an adequate regulatory system to monitor this industry. That's not my quote. That is from Randy Huffman, the Secretary of the Department of Environmental Protection in West Virginia. This last year, we had a lot of gas companies going all over the state, speaking at town hall meetings just like tonight, saying that they supported responsible drilling. But when it comes time to come to the legislature, what they tell the legislators and the people who make a difference is that they're opposed to any regulation whatsoever. They are there to defend the most irresponsible rogue operators that come into the state. And this is the kind of issue that we need you to be addressing. My major concern is with the air pollution emissions. There are a lot of very legitimate concerns about water quality, but the greenhouse gas emissions from these Marcellus wells is orders of magnitude greater than in conventional vertical wells. When the gas industry talks about clean burning fuel and gas as a transition fuel, they need to be able to capture these greenhouse gas emissions, and they are not doing it. We need federal regulation to step in to help states like West Virginia, because unless you act, states like West Virginia will continue their race to the bottom. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Peggy Haynes, and I live in Core, West Virginia, which is about 10 miles west of Morgantown, on a 26-acre farm. I drink Morgantown's public drinking water from the Morgantown Utility Board, and as a previous person said, there are 2 permits just recently permitted, and they all just kind of found out about all of these things. These people are not don't have to give public comment or notice of these permits before going in. Anyway, the drilling is being built right now, and I'm pretty concerned about our water and also the air and our land. We know that spills can occur, you know, accidents can happen, they do happen, and you've heard about that, and the accidents happen due to human failure or equipment failure. It's just a fact. I'd like to request a moratorium on all drilling and permitting for active sites, as well as the giving of new permits until these drilling companies can, and their contractors are required to clean up all of the mess that they make, and also to deal with the public health implications. When will we ever learn?
I'm not on the list, but I drove 5 hours to come here, and I would just like to read a little story I wrote when I heard about hydrofracking. My name's Pete Walton, and I'm a student at James Madison University in Harrisburg, Virginia. Once upon a time, a small group of outsiders landed on beautiful terrain like they had never seen before. They call it their own, although it's not truly theirs. They claim they had solutions to all the people's problems that were already established there. They claim that if they were allowed to have their way with this land, things would improve and everyone would be happy. Unfortunately, this was not the case. Instead of improving, the people fell extremely ill from diseases no one had ever seen before. Animals lost all their hair and began vomiting uncontrollably. Lesions formed in people's brains. Nightmares became realities. Problems that people claimed would be cured only got exponentially worse. Yet, when the people confronted those who had told them these lies, they were met with only more. It seemed all hope had been lost. This story may sound familiar to you. It may sound an awful lot like the story of the Native American struggle so long ago. Surprisingly, it is not the story of Native Americans or any other tribe in this world that has faced genocidal treatment by people abusing false power. This story is one that is unfolding right now in this very country. It is a story of the oil and coal companies stealing people's land for their own profit. The government is aware of what's happening, but sadly the trap of greed and power has consumed them and left them blind to the fundamental human rights this country was founded on. We have come to a strange place in our history. The system we developed long ago originally thought was the perfect solution to our problems is actually leading us into a dark and scary world. A world where people we expect to watch out for us don't even care if our drinking water is flooded with millions of gallons of toxic chemicals. This cannot continue. If this article strikes you as anti-American, please reconsider what is being said. What is anti-American is not these ideas, but what our government is doing to us. Exploitation without representation. The voice of the people is no longer being heard over the rumbles of mining and drilling. We are told natural gas and coal mining is a solution to both the job crisis and dependency on foreign oil. Is drinking poisonous sludge water worth having a temporary job? Is it worth paying slightly less to fill up your car? Perhaps you think the answer is yes to both of these questions, but consider this. In a matter of time, probably sooner than we think, this oil and coal will all be gone. There is no question that fossil fuels are a limited resource. If we allow practices such as hydrofracking and mountaintop removal to continue, both the land underneath us and above us will be ruined right alongside our precious drinking water. No human will live to see the rolling hills and luscious fields we all love so much because we will perish at the same time. A slow and painful death. This is a time for unification. We all drink water. You cannot escape that fact no matter how much money you might have. Bottled water will not save us. Coal and oil are needed to make even that plastic that is made, that those bottles are made out of. It is all tightly linked together. We are all the same. We are all human. Let's ban hydrofracking. It's going to be better.
I rise to thank you all for being here tonight. It has been a remarkably civil discussion between groups of people who have very different, strongly held views and love for their community. I thank you for being with us. I respect all the views we've heard tonight. We've learned a lot from you. We've heard lots of different and interesting points of view that we would not have known if we had not come here. So thank you so much for being with us. I want to thank also Washington and Jefferson College for having made this facility available and for having put together the groups which allowed us to come here and be with you this evening. And I ask you all to drive home safely, think of each other with affection and respect. Thank you for having me.